This is always a fun video to film, discussing what I think might be skincare ingredient trends for 2025. Last year I filmed a similar video focused on Ectoin as the 2024 ingredient of the year. And I think in many ways Ectoin is still going to rule the charts in 2025 as well. We've already seen a bunch of new skincare releases still focusing on Ectoin as the flagship ingredient. We've seen the Inculus launch a brand new hydrating serum focused on Ectoin. Good Molecules have a niacinamide serum that also features Ectoin, and Skinfix have recently announced a skin repair balm as well, so it seems like Ectoin will still be popular. And to recap on Ectoin just quickly before I get into the 2025 list, it's primarily known as a hydrating ingredient, but it has additional interesting properties where it could almost potentially be acting as a cell protectant to really help your skin defend itself against environmental aggressors. So it's definitely the type of ingredient that I love to see, especially in combination with other hydrating ingredients. It just seems like it has tons of potential. Now for 2025, I haven't personally been able to identify one key star ingredient. Ectoin was more obvious, but this year it seems to be a little bit more of a blend. I think there are certain themes that are developing in terms of ingredient classes or ingredient types. And overall, there's really this strong lean into this concept of skin longevity. So that's something I'll discuss. But before I get into longevity overall, I just want to discuss some separate ingredients that I think we'll be seeing a lot on labels and in marketing moving forward. So in terms of the ingredient that I think will be the 2025 ingredient of the year, it's actually collagen. Now you're probably familiar with collagen. It's certainly not a new ingredient. And there have been actually quite a few influencers and doctors kind of talking shit about collagen. A lot of people think it's this sort of trick ingredient that's being put in skincare just to fool everybody into thinking that it's going to have a miracle effect when it won't. And it's not likely that topical collagen is influencing the production of your actual collagen in any meaningful way. But ultimately, part of the pillars of a key skincare routine is proper hydration. And proper hydration means that your skin barrier is functioning optimally, but it also means your skin is able to exfoliate itself naturally. So having a well-hydrated skin is actually improving skin quality. So I never understood the hate towards collagen. Maybe some brands push the claims so it leans into this anti-aging world that it probably won't necessarily achieve the way that it's implied, but it's certainly not a useless ingredient. And I think often collagen can hydrate much better than a lot of the other humectants around. But where brands are moving in terms of the 2025 collagen is not necessarily the standard versions of collagen that we've already seen. Brands are finding different sourcing methods. Some of them are using vegan fragments, and that means that it's along the lines of amino acids or peptides. So the theory is that some of these collagen fragments could have signaling potential, and therefore they wouldn't fall into that just hydration kind of category of collagen. Other brands are looking into marine-derived extracts from previously unused sources. In any case, I guess the whole point of bringing this up is that I think a lot of brands will be talking about collagen in skincare and using the word collagen on the label and in marketing, but they'll all be seeking to find their own specialized version of collagen. So there won't really be one key type of collagen that's the ingredient of the year. It's just collagen as a concept and an ingredient class overall. One ingredient supplier actually touts in their advertising that collagen is a timeless classic, becoming a must-have. And I think that's interesting because it will no longer be possible to write off collagen as a useless ingredient, or even talk about it in a way that it's just one single ingredient, because now there are so many options and they don't all behave and act in the same way. So yes, it'll just be interesting to see how this develops. We've already seen, I think, Vichy launch their collagen serum. Josh Rosebrook has one, Mimtique as well. Even Dior, they don't use collagen phrasing as much, but the whole concept of this new serum they've launched is around collagen science. So yeah, I think it'll just be interesting to see how this develops moving forward. The next ingredient is called Escin, I think is how you pronounce it, but I'll put it up on the screen. This sounds quite similar to Ectoin, but it is a different ingredient. ingredient. Escin has been included in skincare products for many, many years already, so it's not like it's brand new. But I've just noticed it creeping up higher and higher on Inky lists, and that just means that I feel like it's getting to the point of where it might start to appear on labels. I've most notably seen it featured by Clarins and also Chanel, but even I think it's 11 Skin has like a newish barrier repair serum that features Escin in their call-out ingredients. In terms of skin benefit, it's most commonly used in eye products because it's known to help with puffiness and eye bags, but more recently it seems to be developing a reputation for its anti-inflammatory effect, so it's starting to pop up in a lot of skin soothing type serums, and by extension is also known to sort of help with swelling and irritation. I think it's probably only a matter of time until we see it in an upcoming skincare launch actually on the label. Next up are two acids that I don't think will ever be as popular as like the core acids of glycolalactic salicylic, but they do seem to be popping up in products a little bit more frequently, so I wanted to discuss them today. The first one is Shikimic Acid. I think I wouldn't have a clue how to say it, but again, I'll throw it up on screen. Up to now, it's probably mostly been used in deodorants as it's known to help control body odor, but it's also known to act as an almost AHA. Supposedly, its exfoliating potential is much more gradual and therefore leads to a more gentle exfoliating experience. It's also thought to have a selective antimicrobial effect where it could potentially help manage acne, and it's even thought that it could help with dandruff as well. The whole idea here is that it's able to combat some of the bacteria associated with these skin conditions without negatively impacting the skin microbiome. I haven't specifically seen any standout products come out with a Shikimic acid as like a featured ingredient, but I think there's definitely potential there for us to see it appear more so in topical serums, for example. The next ingredient is called Mevalonic acid. Although you won't really see it appear on Inky List in its direct form, it would probably show up as Mevalonolactone, if that's how you say it. I first saw this ingredient featured in Lillian Reinhardt's new brand Personal Day. This ingredient helps improve hydration and is also known to have a gentle exfoliating effect. There is some discussion from suppliers and even some brands that it could potentially help boost cholesterol in the skin, which is indicated in, I guess, better skin barrier function, and that mevalonolactone breaks down into mevalonic acid in the skin, and mevalonic acid is indicated in the production of CoQ10, which, as you might know, is like a key skin component that helps defend the skin against the environment. However, whether this conversion actually happens in the skin meaningfully versus just applying like CoQ10 directly is a little bit questionable. So I would mainly look at this ingredient for its mild exfoliating and hydrating properties, a lot like a lot of the other PHAs. Moving on to the key marketing phrase. So as I discussed at the start of the video, I think longevity is really going to impact skincare in a major way and probably even take over from the whole concept of anti-aging at some point. This is where a lot of the more novel skincare concepts come into place. So like PDRN, Exosomes, NAD, and then there's this whole underlying concept of cellular senescence. I don't think there will be one specific ingredient to take over in this category or to become the flagship ingredient for longevity. It's just going to be a lot of different ingredients from a lot of different brands. And I think different skincare brands will be seeking to find their own unique ingredients to help boost skin longevity. And longevity has very much been developing very quickly, especially in the supplement world. And it's even attracted a lot of tech bros. So it seems to be a phrase that has captured the attention of a lot of industries. And I guess, science overall is always looking into longevity. So it makes sense that that extends into skincare. It's just, I think we run the risk of oversimplifying what aging is. If brands are going to start saying this one extract is slowing down your aging process, like that's incredibly goofy because we age for tons of different reasons. But I do think this is a super interesting field of research and something that I'm keen to see explored more. I just don't think it's likely that there will ever be one root cause of skin aging or aging at all. So yeah, this is something to take with a bit of a grain of salt as a novel concept and a novel industry that maybe could be a supplement or a booster to your existing skincare routine, but certainly doesn't have the evidence to suggest there's any overwhelming benefit. And this is a category that's difficult to navigate because there is often a glimmer of truth in a lot of the claims, but the claims within the longevity space are extremely exaggerated that, you just just need to sit back a little bit, and I kind of think of it more as like an antioxidant booster in a way. So potentially it's helping some of my skin cells work, function better, last a bit longer. But I would certainly not look at any longevity ingredients as a replacement to gold standards at this point in time anyway. I'm somebody that really enjoys the skincare industry. I love trying lots of different products, trying all of the things. So for me, this area of longevity, cellular senescence, exosomes and all of that is interesting. But that's because I'm willing to just go with the flow and not take it too seriously. And I think that's probably the best way to look at it until we get more solid, clinically relevant information or evidence that can guide us a little bit better. Now, having said all that, within this concept of longevity, you'll often see exosomes in particular pop up. Exosomes are basically little carriers. I think of them kind of like IKEA delivery vans that are delivering like parcels of flat pack furniture to your skin cells, except instead of furniture, of course, it's a delivery of proteins, lipids, and other genetic information. Skincare brands have jumped on this quite early, but I think it's relatively well known that the source of the exosomes can play a big role in the potential skin effect. I guess the principle here is just that human-derived genetic information will just more accurately match the biology of another human. Skincare brands are probably more commonly using plant-derived exosomes, so of course that biology doesn't match. But also, like with growth factors and so on, I don't think plant-derived exosomes are useless. It's just a bit unclear as to how much signaling potential that has, or at least I'm unclear about it. And I suspect we're looking more into like its antioxidant skin soothing potential, which is definitely not useless. It just might not have the same skin regenerating properties as the claims relating to human-derived exosomes. There's just so much to this topic, and it is actually relatively new. I'm surprised at how quickly it has fallen into the cosmetic world because there's just so many questions. As I mentioned earlier, the sourcing is an issue. Purity is definitely a conversation. The ethics around human-sourced, overall regulation as to like how are we going too far in terms of cosmetic ingredients, delivery into the skin's stability of the exosomes in formula. So there's just so much. Now, I don't love to talk about a topic without trying it, and I've gone straight to what I consider to be the top of the line option in exosomes. So I've used one bottle of the Intense serum from Plated and also one full bottle of the regular serum as well. And to be honest, I didn't really notice any changes or benefit to my skin using these products. It's possible that 2 bottles, one of each isn't sufficient to get results that they claim. But considering the price point of these products and the fact that across 2 bottles I couldn't really identify anything, it's certainly not a field that I'm personally exploring too much unless some more solid evidence comes out about it. From what I understand, exosomes currently are probably best indicated towards post-procedure care. Then your clinician might suggest an exosome serum to help boost skin repair so that the downtime is less. So that is something that I don't have experience in. I was just using these exosome serums on my regular face, like untreated skin. So potentially I'm not even a good candidate for it, but I guess I was still hoping there'd be some skin benefit considering the price. But yeah, so personally, this is probably an avenue of the skincare industry that I'm not really that interested in. Next up is NAD, and this is all related to energy in skin cells, basically cellular housekeeping. And it's known that as we age, NAD levels drop. So it's thought that ingredients that can potentially boost the production of NAD in the skin or even recycle NAD. From what I understand, there's no real benefit to applying NAD directly to the skin. I don't think it recognizes or absorbs in a way where that would be functional. So when we're looking at NAD in skincare, brands are mostly talking about boosting ingredients or kind of precursors. Now, very interestingly, niacinamide, which we're all familiar with, is related to NAD. It's a little bit unclear as to how much of a role niacinamide plays in terms of recycling or boosting NAD production in the skin, but it certainly could be one of the avenues of effect as to why niacinamide works so well. Like with nearly every topic in this video, I don't think there's one star ingredient associated with NAD production in the skin. And there are of course still questions as to how how much effect potentially boosting NAD actually impacts skin aging, like how much of a benefit that shows. But with anything novel, there's always a lot more questions than there are answers. As an example, Dr. Sam Bunting uses a sunflower shoot extract, and I believe this extract isn't directly promoting NAD, but rather boosting skin's ability to recycle the existing NAD. There are also ingredients that are relatively well known, like resveratrol. That's also thought to have a role in preserving NAD in the skin. A reduction in NAD is also correlated to the occurrence of cellular senescence, which incidentally is the next category. So, cellular senescence, another really wide topic in skincare, very much based in this concept of skin longevity. Senescent cells relates to skin cells that still exist in the skin, but they stop performing their function. You'll often see them referred to as zombie cells. These zombie cells basically just stick around releasing bad stuff into the skin that could be leading to additional inflammation and signs of aging. Traditionally, the effect of senescence was combated by your typical skincare ingredients like niacinamide, retinoids, and so on. But more recently, this concept of senolytics has become quite well known in skincare, and that relates to using topically applied skincare ingredients to actually remove senescent cells. So I guess the theory is the less senescent cells, the less bad stuff that's being released in the skin to impact other cells. And related to that, there's also a concept known as xenomorphic ingredients. Rather than removing senescent cells, like what senolytics do, xenomorphic ingredients are more so there to reprogram or basically repair senescent cells, so kind of reversing them back to be functional. Lots of different brands claim that they have certain extracts that help with senescence. It's not always clear if they're xenomorphic or senolytic, so that's something that you kind of have to read through the lines in descriptions and maybe even look up the ingredients in isolation. But Chanel, I think their Sublimage line focuses on senescence. I'm pretty sure even their number one Deschanel Red Camellia extract has senescent fighting properties. Biologique has a whole dedicated serum to senescence, and I think even the new Dior serum has some claims around combating senescence too. And from a drugstore perspective, Aven talks about it a lot as well. I think in their Hyalu Active serum or whatever it's called. So yeah, there's lots of different ingredients, lots of different, vantage or target points that could potentially address senescence. It's just, this is again so early in the game, it's really hard to know which ingredients are functionally beneficial. Next up is PDRN. I think PDRN became quite well known last year with the whole salmon sperm marketing. PDRN is essentially a composition of DNA fragments, and that's supposed to be related to skin rejuvenation. I'll keep this brief because I feel like PDRN probably sits more in the aesthetic field where you might be having injections of it. I haven't really seen anything convincing where topically applied PDRN really does anything more than a humectant would, kind of like, a regular collagen ingredient. So of course that doesn't make it bad, it just means that if we're spending hundreds of dollars on it, it may not be worth exploring. PDRN is just something that I don't have a lot of faith in personally, but I'm also very willing to change my mind. If I'm wrong, please do let me know in the comments. So if you feel like PDRN topically applied is life-changing, I would love to hear about it. The one that is specifically related to skincare in terms of its best effect is salmon derived. We're definitely seeing a lot of brands looking at PDRN from lots of different sources. So I think it's starting to become a little bit unclear what the potential effect is. Some extracts might have super great antioxidant effect, and others, there's just a lot of don't know, what if, could be, maybe, which is just the theme of longevity overall. And to finish off this list of the trending ingredients for 2025, I have 3 ingredients that I feel like have been trying to become star ingredients for the longest time, and they just haven't really quite been able to break through. So those ingredients are electrolytes, Mandelic acid, and Polyglutamic acid. Electrolytes are usually used in hydrating products, and they're a way for skin to apparently hold on to moisture more effectively and also potentially balance the transfer of hydration hydration in the skin. As electrolytes are really just a mixture of minerals, it's likely that maybe topical application isn't so straightforward, and the efficacy of a serum might depend on how well calibrated this ratio of electrolytes is, even if there is such a thing as an ideal ratio that would be applicable widely. So electrolytes is probably something that's developing. Again, I don't know if there's any golden rule as to how beneficial it is. Certainly not something I would avoid, but I think it's probably struggled to become like a key feature ingredient because it's hard to know what this is doing versus other humectants and whether applying this type of mineral mixture is actually beneficial for everyone. So yeah, Mandelic acid is one that I quite enjoy, but I think the problem Mandelic has had is that glycolic, lactic, salicylic just steal all the glory. Those three acids tend to have a little bit more of a directly noticeable skin effect, whereas Mandelic acid is a little bit gentler. And I guess probably the main thing is I just don't think there's been any one brand that has truly been able to celebrate Mandelic as this hero ingredient. So it could be that we're just waiting for the right skincare product to come along to become a cult favorite. I'm using a couple products at the moment that do feature Mandelic and I'm really enjoying them, especially how much gentler they've been. So I'll ensure to discuss that soon. And the last one in this kind of bubbling under category is polyglutamic acid. This is also known as a hydrating ingredient, and we often see it pitted against hyaluronic acid. Polyglutamic acid is known to have good moisture retention properties, especially along the skin surface. But I think the problem here is that hyaluronic acid just has such a strong legacy and it's marketed so much that everybody is familiar with it. But also hyaluronic acid comes in so many different formats. So you have ones that have film forming capabilities, ones that absorb better, ones with different molecular weights and sizes. So there's just so much to choose from within the scope of hyaluronic acid that is there even a reason, for polyglutamic to become a feature ingredient when we're all familiar with HA glycerin, for example. So again, not one that I have any hate towards. It's just I don't know if there's much point. Now, with everything said in this video, my main message is that, it's fun to discuss newness and ingredients that are coming up, but I don't think anybody should be experiencing any level of FOMO or like rushing out to have a skincare serum targeting every single one of these things. To be honest, I think retinoids, niacinamide, I like to have an antioxidant serum and of course sunscreen. If you have those things, you're pretty much targeting all of the key parameters of skin aging and all other skincare concerns like acne and so on. So yeah, take this video just as a little bit of like what's new, where skincare is potentially heading, but I don't think that any one of these ingredients will ever be a replacement for the true favorites. And if one day that changes, we will certainly know about it. And then we can start using these things with significant presence when that happens. In the meantime, this list and any of these product suggestions are more so for the skin enthusiast. Potentially there's skin benefit, potentially there's not. But the way I like to think about skincare is that at a minimum, I'm hydrating, I'm plumping, I'm protecting my skin in some form. So as long as you don't mind potentially buying something that's not as efficacious as it may seem, then that's okay. Like, you just want to take your skincare routine with a bit of a lighthearted smile and enjoy the whimsy, because ultimately the cosmetic industry is a consumer category. It is not medical. So the claims that brands can make, the claims that especially suppliers can make, are obviously level 100 versus the ratio that we'd be looking at for clinically relevant evidence for actual skin changes and physiological changes. So just keep that in mind. Like, this is a conversation around cosmetics after all, so don't stress too much about it, but enjoy it, so yeah. I hope that made sense anyway, because it's like, I don't want to come across like I don't believe in any of these concepts. It's just that for how much money is being asked, and considering aging especially is likely extremely multifaceted, one plant extract is not solving everything, that's for sure. And that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for hanging out with me and chatting. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.